Hey folks, it's Tom Moore coming to you with another video from living in Halifax. Today, we're doing a video on the pros and cons of living in the North End of Halifax. We're actually at the Commons, which is a large green space located right on the border. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, pro number one is gonna be your proximity. Now, before we get into that, quickly want to remind you to just like, subscribe, hit the bell. We come up with a video like this on living in Halifax every week. But in terms of proximity, I'm actually out front of the new Good Robot Beer Garden, and the North End is home to a lot of this stuff. Local craft breweries, bars, little shops that you can get kind of your everyday knickknacks at, as well as grocery stores, liquor stores. But the big thing here is that in this neighborhood, you're really kind of close to everything you need. You're not too far away from downtown. Even if you look over my shoulder here on the other side of the street, you've got the Commons right there as well. So you've got a lot of park space as well to kind of, maybe you got a dog or you've got kids that you want to take for a run around the neighborhood. You're gonna have all that very close by. Here's a little overview of the Commons heading towards downtown. This is the new pool right at the Halifax Commons. Just completed this summer. So this is the back side of the pool, which is just being finished up. This is the skate park on the Commons. This is the Amera Oval, which in the summertime, when it's not being cleaned like it is now, is used for rollerblading, where you can get free rollerblade rentals. And in the winter, they ice this over and you can get free skate rentals. Here's another look at the Amera Oval building. Here's the North End Library. Here's the Community Y Athletic Center in the North End. Okay, so pro number two is going to be the beauty and the history of this neighborhood. Now, the North End has a mixture of a lot of things. It's got a great vibe, obviously, I've mentioned in previous videos, but the actual architecture in this neighborhood is pretty unique as well. You get cool old buildings like the one behind me, or even this brick kind of older building, but you've got a lot of color in this neighborhood. The homes can be, in certain areas, 100 years plus old. And you also have the actual neighborhood itself, which has had quite a bit of, I guess, change over the last many years. You've got the Africville history, you've got the Halifax explosion, you've got wartime history. All this is part of kind of this rich history of the North End and tells a bit of a story about what's actually gone on here. Okay, pro number three is going to be the vibe. Now, the North End, out of all the areas in Halifax, I would say has the best vibe. It's got a bit of an artsy kind of culture here, but it's also very family oriented. And this is partially because it does have a lower barrier to entry in terms of price points and whatnot, but it's definitely got the best vibe, kind of a real community spirit. Everybody's out walking around, and you're very close to downtown, so you still have that connection to the downtown core. So pro number four is going to be the price point or the barrier to entry. Now, when looking at the Halifax Peninsula, which is almost like that island that juts out into the Halifax Harbor with water on kind of both sides, that is the North End tends to be the cheapest cost for entry when purchasing or when renting. It's just a mixture of several factors, but age of the house, smaller lots, basically in certain areas it can be involved with how far it is away from downtown, although the North End is still on the peninsula, so it is still quite close. And several other factors. The North End, you're going to find the cheapest spots, which is a real bonus if you're looking to get onto the peninsula of Halifax. Switching over to the cons now. Con number one is going to continue on with kind of the price point, is the smaller lots. Now, the North End, as you can see, some of these houses behind me tends to have smaller lots, and that's due to several factors. But one thing you'll find if you are purchasing a house, unlike in the South End or even parts of the West End, the land that you buy attached to your house tends to be a little bit smaller. So if you're looking for a larger yard, then you might run into some issues there. Now, however, there are certainly houses in the North End with decent sized lots, decent sized yards, but it's just one thing to kind of keep in mind when looking in this area, is you may have a smaller plot of land. Okay, con number two. Although the North End is really changing, like the building behind me, Richmond Yards, and several other kind of new builds right here, even in this parking lot, will obviously become a massive development. A lot of the North End, the homes are quite old. So what this means for you as a homeowner is occasionally it may need a bit more upkeep or whatnot. Obviously, you're going to get a bit more character with those homes, but for some individuals, an old house that hasn't been touched in 40, 50, 60 years, occasionally you'll run into an older house that just needs a bit more love or work on the inside. Maybe it's got cedar shingles, something along those lines, but that's something that you can run into in the North End. Again, you get some newer-ish homes, maybe built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, but there's also quite a bit of old culture homes, as I like to call them, which are maybe 100 years old plus. Finally, con number 3 is going to be in regards to your commute, but not just any commute. Obviously, the North End is relatively close to downtown. Where I am in the deep part of the North End, it can become a little tricky to walk to work. So it's going to be very easy to bus or even take your car, maybe bike ride. A car to downtown from here is probably about 5, maybe 7 minutes. But by foot, when you get into those deeper parts of the North End, it can take a little bit too long or longer, maybe 45 minutes to walk downtown. It really kind of depends on A, your level of fitness, and B, your willingness to walk a certain distance. But that's kind of the final con of the North End. Okay, folks, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Living in Halifax on the pros and cons of living in the North End. Once again, I'm Tom Moore. I work with Remax in Halifax. If you're thinking about buying or selling, then feel free to reach out. My contact is in the description below, and have a great day.